In today's video, we're going to be making, well, a flying taxi as a goal, but it's more just a flying car, but an improved one. Now, I have made a flying car before. It was okay, it wasn't great, but the main problem is that I try not to use glitches. Now, glitches are pretty useful as they make stuff fly very stable, and that's the problem. This thing would not be very stable. So I did end up using a glitch in the end, but it didn't affect it too much, as even though I want it to fly well, it's also got to drive well, and something that's stable while driving, it doesn't really work very well. So anyway, I obviously first started the platform which I was going to build on because I was kind of bored and just thought it might be slightly nicer to build on. Then I started building the car. So I basically just built the body first and it looked okay. I looked at a few images of taxis while I was doing it, since I don't really know how they look, and I just started building. Now we're going to look at the needs of this thing for a second. Now obviously it's going to need to fly, and it's also going to need 4 seats as it's a taxi, and it's also going to need to drive. Pretty simple, but let's see if we can actually achieve that in this video, as it's going to be quite hard. Now the suspension was annoying, to say the least, like very, very annoying. As getting it right was very hard. The first bit of the suspension was pretty simple. I just did back and front, well, I did suspension from the back and front of the car. But then I changed the front suspension, as, it was a bit weird. And then when I changed it, it was worse at driving. It would not drive as well. So I changed it again. Well, or back to how it originally was. Now, it's a weird suspension layout, I know. But it's actually pretty good and actually makes this thing great to drive. Now, obviously this thing had to have 4 seats, as it's a taxi, so there's a 3 passenger seats and a driver's seat. It also has lights, obviously, as you've got to have lights. And that's really it. After a bit, we had to start on the actual thrusters and flying and stuff, as that's usually the hard part. Now, one of the biggest problems is going to be cramming everything into such a small space, because currently for my last flying car, it had to have 3 electric engines, and so will this one, as that's how I can make a WNS converter, or at least that's what I call it. And it basically means we can easily just control our car with WNS. Because this is going to be different to my old flying car, since it's going to hopefully drive like an airplane, not like, well, a helicopter like my last one, which was not the best. Now, obviously, it's going to be quite hard to get there, but we should be able to do it, as I have made quite a few airplanes in the past. Now, obviously, fitting thrusters into a car is quite annoying, as I currently put them between, well, the front seats and the back seats, as it's a pretty good place, as usually your car would have to be at least 5 blocks tall to house these thrusters, but luckily it doesn't, since I put them in quite a neat little space, which is quite good space management, and it should be pretty good for later. Now, one of the hardest things about this was logic, because I had to cram quite a bit of logic into space, and I also have to make it so the thing actually works, because I'm not the best at logic. I know quite a bit and have actually done quite a bit of it, but I'm still just don't know lots of basic things with it. But it went alright in the end, but it didn't go amazing. Obviously I had made a flying car in the past, and it was very different to this design. The last flying car had 6 thrusters, and this one has 4. Now, this one also worked in a very different way. As originally in my old flying car, the pitch was delivered through the 4 thrusters on the bottom, which were pointing upwards, which basically meant if you turned off the front ones, it'd pitch forwards, if you turned off the back ones, it'd pitch backwards. Upward thrusters are going to be used for roll, as this should be pretty simple, but we are going to need to fit quite a lot of bearings into this thing. Now, generally making the car look good was also quite a pain, but it looked okay, and I did actually paint it towards the end, which was actually quite surprising. But anyway, so after adding in the WNS converter, it went okay. There was enough space for it, but the main problem is it kind of threw off weight balance, which meant this thing was very heavy in the front, which meant that it was not stable. As before, it was actually very, very stable. Like, it could go up and not tilt much, and that was pretty good. Now, the only really way to fix this was to add more weighted blocks in the back of the car. Well, the main problem with that is it just obviously makes the thing heavier. Now, this means we don't have so much up thrust, and it does make this thing very slow going up. But it is an airplane, well, it's meant to be an airplane anyway, so it should be okay. Now it definitely does not have enough up thrust to make it comfortable to fly, like very comfortable to fly, but it still is pretty good. And for the short trips you'll be making this thing, it'll definitely do. Now I didn't actually end up using the platform much in this video. It was more just a little thing to keep my mind preoccupied at the start, where I just thought about a few things. And also, yeah. Now I think it actually looked pretty good. I don't think it looked too bad, and also it contained everything, which is really good. Now, on actually it being a car, it's an okay car. I wouldn't say it's awful, but yeah, it's still not the best car. I'm generally not good at making cars, as it's generally quite hard to make good cars, at least if you're me, that is. But it's actually okay. It drifts slightly, isn't the most controllable, but it still functions okay, and that's all we need. Now there are a lot, and also I did do the thing to the wheels so they kind of like rotate to, I don't know, but it's kind of the classic in flying cars where they like rotate the angle, and it just makes it look slightly cooler. Also, if I didn't mention this, it could also turn into a freewheeler, which is pretty cool due to how the suspension in the front was designed. Now the freewheeler was pretty fun, except it did flip over a lot, which is why I didn't use it. And it was almost tempting to add a design which could switch to a freewheeler, because switch into like being a freewheeler, because I thought that'd be a pretty cool, or like a tricycle. Now, although it was technically still a four-wheeler, it was still pretty fun to like drive, but it did tip over sometimes. I'm pretty sure as long as you were at a high speed while turning, it worked fine. But anyway. Now, obviously I gave this thing, a little bit of, a paint job. I just painted the whole thing yellow, as that's the only thing I know, and the internal bits black, as it's nice to have some contrast. And I also, painted the bottom of it grey, as I thought that's how, I thought that'd be the colour of the bottom of the car. But yeah, it didn't turn out too badly. I like how it looks, but comment if you don't. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and let's just drive around this thing and go off a few ramps. So yeah, this thing's actually pretty controllable. Now I did have a suspension glitch. This thing, it's not a very powerful one, and it's on the bottom, and it kind of really only stabilizes one axis, which is the pitch axis. Due to the pitching is very stable, which is nice. So it's actually quite controllable. You can do quite a lot of cool things with it, but it's not exactly that smooth. But if I compare it to my flying car, it's actually pretty good. It can, obviously drive pretty smoothly. It can do most things that my flying car could, but quite a lot better. It's a lot more stable, which is just nicer since you can actually get to a very high altitudes. Like, it's basically a helicopter at this point. Now, precision landing, it's not very good at, but neither are planes, so it's kind of in the whole thing. And also, very little up thrust, making this thing quite hard to use. But it's still good, and if you just had a rough location you wanted to get to, you get there very quickly. And as you can see, the transitions from, flying to driving, and then driving to flying are not the best. The smoothest ones are more flying to driving, but yeah. The still often flips over as well, and as you can see, very smooth, and then we also hit a rock there. So yeah, generally, as a tool to get around, it's actually pretty good. But the problem is, fitting so much stuff into tight spaces generally makes it less efficient, and making maybe a slightly bigger one would generally be better for just driving around. But it's still pretty good, and it's pretty fast. But as you can see, we barely get any up thrust, and now we're kind of stalling and we're going into the ground. Now, I was actually trying to do a front flip there, but that did not work. Or a loop. Now, as you can see, we can't go very high though. This is mostly due to the stabilization, and my flying car cannot go this high, or at least without an expert piloting it. And I don't think I could pilot that high. But as you can see, hitting the ground, it's not the best. And as you can see, it does not have much up thrust. Getting up out of here was a pain. But if you fly around a diagonal angle, then you can harness the power from the four thrusters, and you can actually go up pretty quickly. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. This was meant to be a slightly better video than a few of my last ones, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye.